The funeral of Pope Francis, a global gathering of world powers. On April 26, 2025, the world paused to mourn the passing of Pope Francis, the 266th pontiff of the Roman Catholic Church, whose death marked the end of a transformative papacy characterized by humility, advocacy for the marginalized, and efforts to bridge divides in a polarized world. His funeral, held in the sacred confines of St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City, was not only a religious event but also a significant diplomatic moment, drawing leaders and representatives from major world powers and beyond. The attendance of heads of state, monarchs, and high-ranking officials from across the globe underscored the Vatican's enduring influence and the universal respect for Pope Francis's legacy. This 15-minute write-up explores the significance of the funeral and details the world powers represented at this historic event. The context of Pope Francis's funeral. Pope Francis, born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in Buenos Aires, Argentina, was the first Jesuit pope and the first from the Americas. His papacy, beginning in 2013, was marked by a focus on social justice, environmental stewardship, and interfaith dialogue. His death in 2025, at the age of 88, followed a period of declining health, and his funeral adhered to the traditional rites of the Catholic Church, steeped in centuries-old rituals. The ceremony, presided over by the Dean of the College of Cardinals, was a solemn affair, attended by thousands of faithful in St. Peter's Square and watched by millions worldwide via global broadcasts. The Vatican, as a sovereign entity with diplomatic relations with over 180 countries, serves as a unique platform for international gatherings. The funeral of a pope is one of the rare occasions where leaders from diverse political, cultural, and ideological backgrounds converge, often setting aside differences to pay respects. The presence of world leaders at Pope Francis's funeral reflected not only his personal impact but also the Vatican's role as a moral and diplomatic force in global affairs. The significance of the attendance. The attendance of world leaders at the funeral was a testament to Pope Francis's global reach. During his papacy, he addressed pressing issues such as climate change, migration, and economic inequality, earning admiration from both Catholic and non-Catholic nations. His calls for peace, particularly in conflict zones like Ukraine and the Middle East, resonated with leaders seeking to align with his moral vision. The funeral also provided a rare opportunity for diplomatic encounters, with leaders engaging in sideline discussions on pressing global issues, such as the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Leaders from democratic, authoritarian, and monarchical systems alike. The diversity of attendees, from Western democracies to emerging powers and monarchies, reflected the universal appeal of Pope Francis's message and the Vatican's diplomatic clout. World powers in attendance. Below is a detailed account of the major world powers represented at the funeral, based on available information. United States. The United States, a global superpower, was prominently represented by President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump. Their attendance was particularly notable given Trump's interactions with Pope Francis during his first term, where the pontiff had critiqued policies on immigration and climate change. Former President Joe Biden, the second Catholic U.S. president, and former First Lady Jill Biden also attended, underscoring the bipartisan respect for the Pope. The U.S. delegation's presence highlighted the Vatican's influence in American politics, particularly among the country's significant Catholic population. United Kingdom. The United Kingdom sent Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Prince William, representing King Charles III. The British monarchy's attendance, alongside the government's representation, reflected the deep historical ties between the Vatican and the UK, despite the Anglican Church's dominance. Prince William's presence added a symbolic gesture of continuity, as King Charles III, the head of the Church of England, expressed condolences for the loss of a global spiritual leader. France. President Emmanuel Macron represented France, a nation with a strong Catholic heritage and a key player in European politics. Macron's attendance was significant given France's secular tradition, laicite, and the Pope's calls for interfaith dialogue in a country grappling with religious diversity. Macron's presence also underscored France's role as a bridge between Europe and the Vatican. Russia. Russia was represented by Culture Minister Olga Lyubimova, as President Vladimir Putin did not attend due to an International Criminal Court arrest warrant related to the Ukraine conflict. The decision to send a lower-ranking official reflected the delicate balance of Russia's relations with the Vatican, particularly given Pope Francis's vocal calls for peace in Ukraine. The Vatican's neutrality in global conflicts allowed Russia to maintain a presence, albeit subdued, at the funeral. China. Information regarding China's attendance was inconclusive, with no confirmed decision on whether Beijing sent representatives. China's complex relationship with the Vatican, marked by tensions over the appointment of bishops and religious freedom, likely influenced its participation. Pope Francis had made efforts to engage China through a 2018 agreement on bishop appointments, but the absence of clear confirmation suggests China's cautious approach to the event. Brazil. Brazil, the largest Catholic nation in the world, was represented by President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva and First Lady Janja Lula da Silva. Their attendance was particularly poignant, as Pope Francis had championed causes dear to Brazil, such as Amazon conservation and social equity. Lula's presence underscored the deep cultural and religious ties between Brazil and the Vatican. India. India, a rising global power with a small but significant Catholic population, sent representatives, though specific names were not detailed in available sources. The attendance reflected India's growing diplomatic engagement with the Vatican, particularly under Pope Francis's outreach to non-Christian nations. Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky and his wife, Alina Zelenska, attended, drawing significant attention due to Ukraine's ongoing conflict with Russia. Zelensky's meeting with President Trump on the sidelines of the funeral to discuss ceasefire efforts highlighted the event's role as a platform for diplomacy. Pope Francis's repeated calls for peace in Ukraine made Zelensky's presence a powerful symbol of the pontiff's legacy. Germany. President Frank-Walter Steinmeier represented Germany, a key European power with a sizable Catholic population. Germany's attendance reflected its strong ties with the Vatican and Pope Francis's influence on European unity and social issues, such as migration and climate change. Italy. As the host nation, Italy was represented by President Sergio Mattarella and Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Italy's deep Catholic roots and proximity to the Vatican made their attendance a natural expression of national mourning and respect for the Pope, who was also the Bishop of Rome. Spain. King Felipe VI and Queen Letizia represented Spain, a historically Catholic nation with close ties to the Vatican. Their presence, alongside other European monarchs, highlighted the enduring role of royalty in Catholic ceremonies. Other notable powers. Additional world powers and significant nations included Australia, represented, though specific attendees were not specified, Japan, no clear mention of representatives, and the Philippines, represented by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., reflecting the largest Catholic nation in Asia. Argentina, Pope Francis's homeland, was represented by President Javier Milei, whose attendance carried deep emotional weight for the Argentine people. Broader representation and diplomatic significance. Beyond major world powers, the funeral saw an extraordinary gathering of global leaders. Monarchs from Belgium, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Luxembourg, Monaco, Jordan, Liechtenstein, and Lesotho attended, showcasing the Vatican's unique ability to convene royalty. The United Nations was represented by Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, and the European Union by Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, emphasizing the Pope's influence on global governance and European integration. The presence of leaders from conflicting nations, such as Ukraine and Russia, underscored the Vatican's role as a neutral space for dialogue. Sideline meetings, such as the Trump-Zelensky discussion, highlighted the funeral's function as a diplomatic hub. The attendance of leaders from diverse faiths, including Muslim-majority Jordan and secular states like France, reflected Pope Francis's commitment to interfaith harmony. The legacy of the event. The funeral of Pope Francis was more than a religious farewell, it was a moment of global unity in a fractured world. The attendance of leaders from major world powers, spanning the Americas, Europe, Asia, and Africa, demonstrated the universal appeal of his message of compassion, justice, and peace. The event also set the stage for the conclave to elect his successor, with the world watching closely as the Catholic Church navigated its next chapter. For the leaders in attendance, the funeral offered a chance to honor a pontiff who had challenged them to address global crises, from poverty to climate change. For the Vatican, it reaffirmed its status as a moral and diplomatic force, capable of convening the world's most powerful figures in a shared moment of reflection. The funeral of Pope Francis on April 26, 2025, was a historic event that brought together leaders from the United States, United Kingdom, France, Russia, Brazil, Ukraine, Germany, and other world powers, alongside monarchs, diplomats, and global organizations. The presence of 130 delegations, including 50 heads of state, underscored the Vatican's unparalleled ability to unite nations in mourning and dialogue. As the world bid farewell to a pope who had championed the poor, the environment, and peace, the gathering in St. Peter's Basilica served as a powerful reminder of the enduring influence of faith and diplomacy in shaping global affairs.